Welcome to the Art History Show on the KJL Podcast Channel. From the great masters of history to the visionaries who redefined creativity, the Art History Show brings the stories behind the art to life. Hosted by artist Kenneth J. Lewis Sr. and moderated by Karen Gramajo, the series explores how imagination, culture, and perseverance shaped the world of art as we know it. Each episode blends conversation, history, and visual storytelling to uncover the emotion and inspiration behind every masterpiece. Filmed at a variety of locations, the Art History Show invites viewers to see beyond the surface and into the soul of the artist. The Art History Show is produced by the KJL Podcast Channel. Now to the show.
Show on the KJL Podcast Channel. I'm your host, Kenneth J. Lewis Sr., and I'm joined by Karen Gramajo.
Hello, Kenneth.
Hi, how you doing? I'm having a little technical difficulties here. I'm trying to mute my mic here. I have two. I'm hearing like a little bit of an echo.
Okay.
And I don't know why this is doing this real quick. I'll shut this speaker down. Okay, I think that sounds a little better right there. I was having trouble. I have two spots here. And so how you doing, Karen?
Good. I'm doing quite well. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to talk about this painter, especially since he's criminally underrated in his work. He was thinking at the time of a graphic design even before it was even construed by the rest of the world population. So I think we would love to go into that depth. So without further ado, go ahead.
Yes. You know, Raoul Dufy, he was a painter of joy. His canvases, they glowed with rhythm and music and sunlight, and he turned like parades, regattas, and orchestras into like symphonies of color. He was a really amazing and very, like you said, very underrated artist. So over the next hour, we're going to explore his life and his journey as a young dreamer in the Lahore to one of the modern art's most uplifting voices. And I just want to thank everyone that's tuned in right now. And we're happy that you're here. This is the first time doing an art history episode live. And this is our first time, me and Karen hosting art history. We have a great lineup of artists that are going to be on our art history show, that we're going to go into their lives, their stories. And we'd like for you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel as well. And so why don't we bring up a couple of things? Let me grab my notes here.
All right.
So first of all, let's get a picture of Raoul Dufy so everyone can see.
This is him. As you can see, he was born in 1877 in, pardon my pronunciation, Le Havre, France. So it was a busy port city. And you can see that how growing up really changed his art styles. So I'll give an example, like this one. So he always does this form of color and light. That was his whole thing. So his father was an accountant, but also a musician. So he mixes practicality and music, and it stayed with him his whole life. And is one of the reasons why his paintings has rhythm, is that it has a melody, as you can see in this painting. So over his years, he worked with other impressionists, but he has like his own category of work. So I'll give you one example, like one of the most famous examples. That's a Matisse.
Yes, that was one of his inspirations, and one of the artists when he started to go into the faux type of painting, and he went away from the like more muted colors after he came across the Fauvist, and he started painting with more color and life in it. They were his inspiration.
They were. And so that's why he was able to construct a variety of colors like this one here. This is like a close-up of his masterwork called the Electric Fairy, I believe, that was in displays in the expeditions of Paris, France in 1937, I believe. So this is just a close-up. If you want to know like the whole canvas, he did an entire mural. This is another piece, close-up, but he did an entire mural dedicated right here. So when you walk in, you can notice that when you are looking at the painting itself, it's just light as color, just as I integrated before. But the thing about it is that when you look around, your eyes wandered everywhere, like how it goes from one character to the next within the artwork. For example, all of these famous people that he construed in his artwork. As you can see, you let your eye wander from one person to the next. So he also, I wanted to say, during his student years, he painted with an impressionist style. And like, as you've mentioned before, like Monet, Pissarro, but like he encountered Fauvism for the first time. So he is an artist who cannot be labeled in a single box. He's actually more than that, because he takes, the one thing he really does is that he takes pieces of others' works and makes it his own. That's why, hence the whole saying, like, steal like an artist. But one of the things he likes to do is that he always likes to push his knowledge and his skills when it comes to technicalities in printmaking and ceramics. So when he cannot be held within, he's when in a box, because it's just so unique, and a lot of art critics at the time just couldn't understand him until like many years later.
Yeah.
So let's see. So he didn't.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No. Go ahead.
Okay. So
No.
the thing he did is that he also discovered in around 1909 Cézanne, which it gives him a new sense of structure and form. So this is in 1909, and when I show you the pictures of this, like the Electric Fairy, you see how this has a little bit of structure in it. And so what he did is that he just made sure that he had a lot of bit of organization and structure in his artwork, because that's the point of when you want to make art, you want, or anything, you want to be organized and create a sort of structure so that everyone can see what's going on and they could catch the vision that you're ensuing. So his style really blossomed when he does quick calligraphic brushstrokes, and which leaves like the canvas bare. And so he wants to make sure his paintings have air and movement. So if I could bring one like this one, you can see how there's like movement in his paintings with just the horses. And as you can see, it's just a limited amount of color, but you can see how it's all light, and it's focused on the main subjects there, which is the horse riders on their horses. You don't see anything in the background because you want the eye to focus on what he has been displaying. And as you can see, I don't know if you can notice, but you can still see like it's some sort of graphic art design in that sense. And this was in the early 1900s, so a lot of people just didn't understand it. They're just seeing like mash of just color that make shapes, that's it. They're like, where's the form, where's the deep depth of this? But that's like the beauty of it. It's a little bit so ahead that you need to understand it further, and a lot of people didn't understand it at that time.
You know, the thing about him is as well is like what we call, like, they called him an artist of design back in the day, and it's essentially Art Deco what we have today. And so there's a lot of the terminology, like he did illustrations, graphic design, and he was employed. What did they call him? They called him I forget. They called him
the artiste decorateur.
Yeah, and it was like, it's essentially a graphic designer, an illustrator, and all of those things that we use the terms for today. There really weren't any terms for them at that particular time.
No,
you know, so Art Deco is just what he was called back in the day, an artist that decorated, and that was it. It was crazy. And so now we just use the term Art Deco. It's pretty interesting. That's why there's nothing new under the sun. And Paul Perot was a giant fashion designer back in the day that got him to commission him to do a lot of work for him. It first started with him doing his business cards and his stationery, but he was a great fashion designer. And if you could pull up some of the designs that, Dufy created for him and some of the drawings. And one thing he did was he had light and color. So he would have, even though he drew these sketches out, he had a way of bringing light and color in and not really having this really pronounced sky or background or anything. He just used the color part and left parts of the canvas blank. And it just gave this sense of light and color. And he did it in a masterful way. And he was like ahead of his time. And he's really, really underappreciated today.
Oh, yeah. Like, I've been seeing his artwork as it's like they do a lot of expeditions of his work. And as you can see, a lot of the designs that you see now has still been common even down to the 60s, 1960s. Yep. It's all about color. And the one thing I appreciate about him, this is a self-portrait of himself. This is how he portrayed himself. As you can see, he's always been full of life.
Yes.
Even during his later years when he was suffering a lot of health complications, his artwork never faltered in any stark decay or morbidity. So it's a stark contrast in the earliest 20th century when there was a lot of World War I, World War II, a lot of issues. And one of the things that his work became so world-renowned is that before we had TikTok, before we had the internet, even before we had television, we used to have magazines. Yeah. And so
and that was the TikTok of the day. And his and his images were portrayed in all of these magazines, and they were shown all over the world, these magazines. And it's essentially our Instagram, our TikTok, our Facebook of today were magazines. And he was at the top during his lifetime. And he also, if we can pull up Guillaume Apollinaire, he was a French poet and playwright. We can pull up a picture of him, and he got him into textiles.
That's him.
That's him right there. Yeah, and he's a. Let me put up a little bit of information about him for a second right here.
Yeah.
I can tell you a little bit about him.
So, if anything, I'll show you some of the textile work that
Oh, go ahead. Guillaume Apollinaire was a French poet, playwright, short story writer, novelist, and art critic. And he's considered one of the foremost poets of the early 20th century, as well as one of the most impassioned defenders of Cubism and the forefather of Cubism. So he was around, obviously they were all around during Picasso's time, Matisse's time, and they were the forefathers of that. And they're the one that coined a lot of the phrases and terms that we refer to those artists. It's amazing. And as far as Paul Poirier, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He was the French fashion designer where you saw the clothing. And he was... the first 2 decades of the 20th century, he was the founder of this namesake. I'm trying to pull this up here. It didn't give me all the it was called the Haute Couture House, was the name of it.
Haute Couture House.
Yes.
Cool. So I'm going to pull up some of his work that Raoul Dufy does for these men. He did mostly textile and ceramic work. So for example, this one. You can see how it's just full of vibrance. And it's all about the lush gardens in where he originated in France, or this type of work. How he got inspired by nature and also the place where he lived. So he is, how can I say it? He is such a very unique person from his textile work, because when he does his work, like I said, he likes to study the print. He likes to see how the machinery works and then implement it into his work.
And he got into woodcuts at that time also, when he got into the textiles, the woodcuts. And he also, that's a beautiful piece right there. But besides the woodcuts, he also was commissioned for illustration for some poetry books by different poets. He was an amazing guy, and he was very highly sought after by a variety of people in a variety of disciplines. And he was well known within all of those disciplines as well.
Cool. Well, he was a man who loved to push boundaries. So
Yes, he did. And Gertrude Stein, who was a major collector during that time period. Many people know Gertrude Stein with her connection to Picasso and Matisse and Modigliani and those people during that time period. But she was a collector also, of Dufy.
Which I will also want to include in this year of 2025, in the past March, there was an exhibition of the artist himself. And there was a lecturer named Mary Alexander who talks in depth about how he was as a person and how his work has been implemented throughout years in the 20th century. And I like how his personality, he is always, when he walks into a room, just like his paintings, he lights it up. Like, yes. You could tell when he enters, he's always full of life and full of light. And he's always mischievous, but he's never cruel. So yes. That's the one thing. And a lot of
people referred to him that way. It was like they called him kind of mischievous too, but never cruel. And which was a funny thing about him. And the other thing, I'm getting pulling away from the mic, he was really into music as well. And I love the orchestra pieces that he did. If you can bring up a few of those, the orchestra pieces.
Let me see.
They're amazing.
Like, not this
And
one.
he did so many versions of it.
Like, let me see if I could pull it up.
This was his inspiration, this photo you have right there with the orchestras right there. But it's amazing.
I don't think. I'm trying to.
I think we have a few of them down here. Maybe I have some here.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, while we're looking for those images, you all have an exhibition at Capitol Health. And so we're going to run a short little commercial here, and we'll be right back.
Artist Kenneth J. Lewis Sr. invites you to experience his powerful exhibition, Multitudes, now on view at Capitol Health Medical Center. Presented by the Capitol Health Art and Healing Foundation and the Capitol Health Healing Arts Program, this vibrant collection is displayed in the Investor Bank Gallery on the second floor. Multitudes is more than an art exhibition, it's a celebration of creativity, healing, and community. Each piece is filled with color, energy, and story, designed to uplift and inspire all who visit. All artwork is available for purchase, with 25% of every sale donated directly to the foundation, supporting programs that bring art, comfort, and hope to patients, families, and staff. The exhibition runs until December 31st, 2025. Don't miss this opportunity to connect with art that heals and inspires. Visit today and be part of Multitudes.
Hi. So welcome back.
Yes.
So I wanted
What I'm doing is I'm actually pulling a few of them up that I have on here. Let me see. I had them on my computer, and I was able to pull up one here. I don't know if you can see it just yet. It's probably down at the bottom here.
Well, while you still
here it is. Here's one of them right here.
Oh, okay. So,
yes, and I'll pull up a few more. While you go ahead and talk, and I'll pull up a few more.
Yeah. So in the March 25th of this year, there was an exhibition and lecture about the artist himself. The lecturer was Mary Alexander, and she talks in depth about the artist and his character. And she did talk about, like I said before, his personality, how he's full of life, he was never mischievous, etc. But when he was, during that time, he was considered the face of France during the 1937 exhibition. And when he was presenting his work, she wanted to state how she greatly admires the artist and how he is able to push and learn the boundary of his art. So there's a quote by her that she stated, "I believe he did that in order to actually better understand what was possible and what could move beyond the possible." And if you could see his line of work, like in the 1930s, he developed severe rheumatoid arthritis, and painting became very painful. But like when it comes to his work, you could see how it's always very full of light. It never filtered. Like ever since, even in the beginning when he when he was in his hometown, all the way when he spread throughout France, it was always full of like distinction and color and light. But the only thing it changed is that it has structure and how the eye can now move from one section to another. So I'll
Absolutely.
give you one of his early works, like this one. As you can see, the 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 flags and how the people down below is just straying. But he wants us to always ensure the structure and the color that we are able to move our eyes around.
Absolutely. That was what's that? The street deck with flags. I think that piece is
Yeah.
called Street Deck with Flags. But here's a couple of more of the the orchestras. I mean, he did so many versions of this. He really was inspired by the orchestra. See here.
Oh yeah.
And
He
I like the
literally.
way that he just sketches out the images, and then he uses like a very light wash of light color wash over the sketch. I mean, it's amazing how he does this, and it again
And
ahead of his time, ahead of his time.
and I think that's what's inspiring about him. Um, he even when he was in pain, he always chose joy, and he never in his canvases it was never bitter. So
Yes.
despite the like all of the there's been depressions paintings in the 1920s,
Hmm.
even Picasso when he was changing his work, it's just still like it's big change up from what he was. But for Dufay, even even in his work, he had this quote: "My struggle for light, which is the soul of color. Color without light is lifeless." And true to his words, his work shows of that color and light.
Hmm.
So right now, his work hang in MoMA, the Tate, the Musée d'Art Moderne. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce. Collectors treasure him because his paintings uplift, and his art feels like a reminder to celebrate the good things of his life. However, he carved out, besides his, he made his own style, like the area musical celebrity style. I do want to discuss about the different aspects of it, like how some art critiques find the negative criticism of his work.
Hmm.
So other art critics find his work very decorative and frivolous due to his work associated with the bourgeois lifestyle. So another view of his work was that it was like a little too whimsical and fanciful. So it doesn't really carries like the harsh realities of that time period. Despite his failing health, despite the opportunity to create bleakness, he never did. But he reminds me, if I were to bring in another artist, this artist, every one out of every 20 artists have this in his home. You can see how Dufay always has light in his work. And it's just like in every landscape, there is another artist that always made me remind me of him. Have you ever heard of Thomas Kincaid, Kenneth?
Yep.
You heard?
Absolutely. Yes.
He is so popular in the every one out of every 20 Americans always have a Thomas Kincaid painting in their house. And a lot of people don't like it because they find it kitsch. It's very kishy. It's very similar
Yes.
to Dufay's, fanciful, etc. But did you know that Thomas Kincaid passed away in 2012 in alcoholism? Yet his artwork never faltered.
Um, I'm not surprised. Um, I saw the joy and the same thing, but he did it in a more realistic kind of way than Dufay did it. But I'm not surprised at all that he was suffering and he didn't put it on the canvas. As an artist myself, people ask me why, like, when or do you paint like when you're in a mood, like do you put your feelings of anger, joy, or whatever on the canvas? And I'm like, no, I never do. Or do you paint to like as therapy? And I'm like, no, I don't paint for that. I paint because I love painting and I love the feeling of painting. I love the act of painting. I'm never painting um, feeling as if I have to I'm getting over something, or I'm depressed, or never. So I'm not surprised that even if he was suffering from anything, that he didn't express it on the canvas. But he could have been feeling those things like it was a relief for him. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure of that. You'd have to talk to him directly. But for me, I paint, just to paint, and it's never uh, to get over something.
Well, I heard this that he paints because, like I said in his quote before, he paints to find the light, the life in the color. So even when he's in pain, he finds meaning in his work. That whenever he paints, he creates a set of like joy. That even though he cannot find it in his real life, he can find it in his work. There's people who have different ways of creating work. For you remind me of this work. I art for art's sake. That's it. But for him, he creates artwork because it's fulfilling for him. He just wants to capture the moment in the best way possible. So I'll give you an example. In one of the greatest work he done was in 1937, The Electric Ferry. And I'll give you close-ups of it. When you enter here, did you notice that how everything around it is almost like you're entering into heaven? For me, it does. And you notice how it's just a big expansion of everything, everywhere, all at once. So all of the greatest minds of France and how they're depicted in this, and the clouds and the inventions. So, for example, this one, you can see how each of them have created their own sense of work. So I'll give you another example. And all of the buildings that have created a sense of wonder and whimsy in their technological advancements. So, and it's such a stark contrast to what he's been doing, such as this one, the palm trees where he's been living, and he just wants to he pushes his work, he pushes his boundaries, but he's always trying to find the good in it. There was this, I'm going a little bit off tangent. I promise I'll go back.
No, you're fine.
I remember there was this book of this woman who writes obituaries for those who are dying. And she reminds of Dufy in his work of how she says, if I were to leave a quote before I pass away from this life to my kids, I will say, find the good. Find the good. And even when it's so funny because when people are close to death is when they're most alive. That's why when there's a lot of cancer patients or people who know they're about to die, they sell everything and they live the best life they can because they know that they're going to pass away. And when they discover that they don't have cancer, they get so furious because now they have to pay back a debt that they never could take back. So I want to tie this in, forgive me, to this way of living, to simplify, as Henry David Thoreau has once stated. And to live, though, is to live in a minimalistic lifestyle the best way you want. So for Dufy, I love his work because his work is simple. It's just color and light, period. Yes.
Yep, just like this. Chateau and horses. Look at this piece right here. It's not bogged down. It looks like a child could paint it, but this is it's detailed, but it's not. It's crazy, and, because people look at things like that and they say, "Well, oh, maybe my kid can." No, you can't. When you couldn't do this. I mean, and just pull this off with everything that he has in here, and look at the trees. Like it's amazing.
This reminds me of the earliest what was it called? It's called minimalism. Yeah, the artwork in the 1950s, how to just use they simplify further and further from the 1920s to 1950s. And I remembered how a lot of adults look at these artists like, I could have drawn that. Yeah, but you didn't. So the thing about the thing about Dufy is that he was, like I said, he was the graphic designer before graphic design was even thought of. So a lot of people find it so weird of how they do this stuff, and yet it became very popular later years. That's the whole thing. I'll give you, if you want me to, there is this modern artist of today who is a singer. But back in 2009, when she portrayed her artwork, her work as art in pieces, people find her like really strange. Like they couldn't comprehend until 10 years later when they finally said, oh, I could definitely relate to her stuff. I bet you didn't. Her name is Lady Gaga. So I know everyone heard of her, everyone knows of her.
Yes.
But the thing about her is that her music videos, whenever she portrayed it, is so bizarre. Like, what's with her head on a bird? What's the whole thing? And then, like 10 years later, we're having the same style of artwork, but with a lot of Gen Zs. So it's so funny how the world works. The same goes with what am I gonna say? Tim Burton's. Oh my goodness, Tim Burton. He was like, he understand goth before goth was even implemented with his work of styles of work, because he was just such an estranged human being. So I think that goes with Dufy. Like he, unlike these two well-known artists, he was the complete opposite. He reminds me also of Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki, who does Studio Ghibli films, always full of light and color and very conservative. Environmentalism, the purpose of spirituality, is not like the same as Dufy, because Dufy is more focused on just holding the moment, just color and light. But nonetheless, as you can see, the artist is shaped by their environment around them. So
absolutely, so well put, Karen. And that's one of the reasons why we love Karen on our show. She does the proper research, and just such an asset to the show. And we're just so happy to welcome you to the show. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show this is my website, KJLArtSanctuary.com. And on Instagram, it's KJL Artists. On Facebook, it's KJL Art Sanctuary Gallery and Studio. Facebook profile is Kenneth J. Lewis. Also on LinkedIn is Kenneth J. Lewis. We have everything. On TikTok, it's at KJL Artists. And as I was showing you the video, you saw the Multitudes exhibition. I'm going to leave a ticker up here for a while for you to look at the ticker. The show is until December 31st, 2025. And all the artwork is for sale, and 25% will go to Capital Health Foundation, the Investor Bank Gallery, and their art foundation at Capital Health. One other thing is I'm going to put up here real quick. And I'm trying to pull these things up here. We have a new show. I'm going to tell you a little bit about some things that are going on. We have the Muse. One Muse, one Masterpiece. Welcome to the Muse. I didn't mean to play that video. I meant to put the overlay on here. Hey, listen, that's the beautiful thing about this. We can do these type of things. So here we have the overlay. It's the Muse Unveiled Show Experience. I have the first episode coming up in 2 weeks. It's an interview with Andre Williams, and we're going to get to see the painting I created for him. He gets to tell his story, the painting I created for him, and the unveiling. You'll get to see that episode coming up in 2 weeks. And as usual, we have Art with Kenneth, where you'll see me painting some of my different series, some time lapses, so you can get some behind the scenes of me creating. And if you want to visit the studio, it's KJL Art Sanctuary Gallery and Studio. It's 310 4th Street, Ewing, New Jersey. You can call us at 609-775-9877 or at 609-372-6022. And so let me get that right off there. And what I'm going to do really quick is we're going to show you one more commercial, and we'll be right back.
For 7 years, the Hamilton Township Library has been home to the vibrant and ever-changing art of Kenneth J. Lewis Sr. Every 4 months, a new rotation of paintings fills the library with color, imagination, and life. Currently on display are 10 original works, a striking collection of expressive portraits and bold abstract visions. Each canvas tells its own story, faces alive with emotion, bursts of color that challenge the eye, and symbolic forms that invite reflection. Together, they create a gallery experience right on the main floor of the library. All works are available for purchase, with 25% of each sale donated to the Hamilton Township Library, supporting a space that enriches the community every day. And the journey doesn't end here. Visitors are warmly invited to the KJL Art Sanctuary Gallery and Studio in Ewing, New Jersey, where Kenneth continues to share his passion through exhibitions, workshops, and paint parties. Come see the art, support the library, and step into a world of creativity that continues to inspire.
Awesome. So if you get a chance, get out to the Hamilton Township Library, also at the Capitol Health Investor Bank Gallery on the second floor in Hopewell, New Jersey. And as we talked about again, as his age and his illness set in, Dufy's his hands were twisted with arthritis, yet his spirit stayed unshaken. As we were talking about earlier, he learned to paint through the pain, adapting his brushstroke into looser, more spontaneous gesture. He reminds me of, I'm trying to think of the Horace Pippin. He had the same thing. He was injured and he lost the use of his right hand, and he took his left hand and he held it like this, and he would put the pencil in his hand and he would guide it with his left hand. So it's amazing what people can do when they have these ailments or handicaps, as we want to call them, but a lot of times they're not for these individuals.
Yeah, it gives a whole new emphasis of no excuse.
Exactly.
Can you give? It reminds me. I know everyone knows this famous artist, but Claude Monet. The one thing I really appreciate about him is that even when he was becoming blind and he was on his deathbed, he always requests to paint on his canvases, even if he couldn't see. So even when he just couldn't see, he was still creating works of art, and it's similar to Dufy's, but it's just splotches of color on his canvas. So, yes. And there's been so many variety of artists who changed throughout the years because of their work, especially those with schizophrenia. But can you give me more about the one artist that you talked about?
It was Horace Pippin. There's an episode that I ran of his, and let me see if I can pull up a picture here of him. I'll have to go into my thing. Let me go on here, and it's an episode that I ran. I want to see if I could, maybe I can bring that video in too. Let me see. I may be able to bring the video in, but it was amazing. He was
a painter.
Yeah, he was a painter. And hold up, I'm trying to see if I can bring this in real quick. You can kind of see the picture.
Well,
I want to show you a picture of him too, since we're talking about him. I think I did a whole episode on him.
How long ago was that?
Oh, this was one of my probably maybe 6 months ago. I would say between 4 to 6 months ago that I did this episode of Horace Pippin. I'm trying to see if I can find it. I can't find the image of him in here right now.
So you got to tell me more about him. From what era is he from? 20th, late 20th, today, back then?
Yeah, he was around. Horace Pippin was around. Some of his paintings are actually in the museum at Trenton, the State Museum. And he was like around, Horace was like around in the 50s. The 40s, 50s. Trying to pull this thing up here.
Did he grow up
so
in Trenton?
Man, I'm having trouble getting into my Where are we at? I'm trying to pull up his video so that I can show people that they can go and watch it on one of my episodes.
Well, I'm gonna.
Yeah, he was 19. Yeah, he was in 1946, and I'm gonna bring up one of his images, and I don't know if you've seen this, and I'm gonna try to bring up a picture of him with his hand while he's painting with his hand. That's what I was trying to do as well, so you can see. Let me get this painting right here first.
So he sends work. What was his main subjects on his theme for his work?
Oh my God, I'm about to show you one of the pictures. Similar to what we're looking at right now. You'll see in a
Really?
second. Yes,
Dufy?
watch.
So it
Yes.
has like light and color as well, or is it like have a
Minimal,
structure?
very simplistic. I'm about to show you. And I'm sure I can pull up a picture of them painting as well. So just give me a second.
Well, while you do that, I'll talk about like where did Dufay lived. Um, he lived in Le Havre
Le
in
Havre.
Le Havre in
Yep.
the early 20th century in France, and these are pictures of what it looked like before. It was a very bustling economic little site. It was founded in 1517 by the royal command, but like at the end of the Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars, they allowed trade and it normally recovered. Recovered the whole economy. It led to a large influx of the population. That's why any poor were still crammed into the slum of St. Francis. Epidemics of cholera, typhoid fever, and there were like a lot of deaths in 1830 and 1850. And there's also alcoholism or immortality rate in that site. But they did like have a big economic boom. And it has like a more of a cultural life in the place. The docks and factories were Italians, the Poles, and North Africans. The economic success of this history attracted Anglo-Saxon, Northern, and Alsatian entrepreneurs. So that's where Dufay came in, and he was so inspired by all of this area. So the progressive installation of the gas lighting, 1837, the rubbish collection, 1844, the sewage works. So because it shows concern with urban modernization. So it was 1815 to 1914 was the golden age for Le Havre. So apart from a few years of the Depression, like the American Civil War, the Franco-Prussian War, the trade exploded and the city was like had elegant new constructions, like the Boulevard, City Hall, courthouses, stock exchange. And so Dufy gets to experience all of that in his work. And you could see some of his work in here when, for example, the famous street deck, like we showed earlier, how you could see the booming of the economy, or how he's like a May and Nisi, where he gets to do a lot of colors and how it's just full of life and light in his work. So here's another one in 1938 that he did. So it's like the palm trees, like I showed earlier. But yeah, he really was like born in a golden age. The effects of the Industrial Revolutions in 1837,
Yes,
the railway. So he managed to make a lot of changes. Hence, he has. You can see some of his paintings in his background right here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So let me show you, even though we're not on Horace Pippin. So this is some of his work right here. So you can see right here, see how minimal that is and how he takes the color. It's beautiful. I did a whole episode on him. I'll link it in the description of this episode for anybody if they want to see that whole episode. It was a pre-recorded episode. And then here's a picture of him actually painting. And you see he's holding his right hand. His left hand is guiding. He would position the paintbrush in his right hand, and he would move his right arm. He was injured in a war. He would move his right arm with his left hand. That's how he painted. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know if you can see where he's got his left hand almost like around the wrist,
yeah.
and he's moving that arm.
Like, if you have a will, you'll find a way.
Exactly. So listen, we're coming up on our, the end of this episode. We try to keep our episodes to about an hour, and we're 53 minutes in. And so what I'm going to do here is a little bit more housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
Yeah, just showing this one more time. Okay, and if you are interested in donating to the channel, you can click on the QR code here. And if you'd like to follow our podcast channel, you can click on the KJL Podcast Channel QR code here. You can always come back to the video to see it as well, and our website. So these are things you can come back to later and look at the video. Click on the QR code if you'd like to follow us and donate to the channel. So what an incredible journey through color. And Raoul reminded us that art doesn't have to be heavy to be meaningful. It really doesn't have to be so detailed to be meaningful. It can be light and color and be meaningful. It could be sketchy and minimal and be meaningful.
Find the good. And that's
Yes.
what Raoul Dufy found. And thank you again for letting me on this. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me ramble on, not just on Raoul Dufy, but a lot of artists throughout the time.
No, I'm so happy that you brought the energy that you did to the show today. And what I want to say is to everyone watching, thank you for being a part of this live experience on the KJL Podcast Channel. Your support, your comments, your curiosity, that's what keeps this community alive. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if today's episode inspired you. Visit KJLArtSanctuary.com to see what's new in the studio and explore exhibitions and connect with us beyond the show.
If you'd like me to be back on to talk about Ken and all variety of artists, including like from music artists to even scientists or psychologists who brought into that, just give like a like and follow, but also leave a comment below saying like, we want her back. And I'll be right and ready.
Yes.
All right.
Also, so listen, everyone, again, thanks for watching. Keep creating, keep exploring, and remember, stay visionary, stay open, and always, always dig deeper. Bye.